call the meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Right. James Barnes.
Here.
David Blako.
Here.
Larry Chesney.
Here.
Sarah Chavilacek.
Here.
Peter Gower.
Here.
Mark Johnston.
Here.
Shelley Reed.
Here.
Kathleen Taylor.
Here.
And Diane Vanderwell.
Here.
So now we have a salute to the flag. Jeremy, who's going to lead us in that?
I'd be happy to lead us, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up a flag right now that I can share on my screen. Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic
for which it
found,
stands, one nation, under God,
Indivisible.
indivisible,
with liberty and justice
liberty and
for all.
justice for all.
Sorry, I did it the wrong order. I apologize.
That's okay. Our next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Commissioner Chesney moved to approve the agenda.
Commissioner Vanderwell, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes.
Moved to approve
Brief
the
item 4 is public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're
That's
right.
okay.
Do we have any public comments since there's just us on so far? But do any members of the,
Yes, we do have one for general public comment. We have Norm Azevedo.
oh,
Wow.
I may have recognized that name.
Good man.
his audio is, now he's on.
Hello,
Mr. Azevedo, you're all ready.
You're on, Norm.
this is public comment. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay. So how are you guys today?
we are well. How are you?
Very good. I struggled a little bit to get here, but I found my way, I guess. Well, it's a pleasure to be in front of you guys. I just wanted to see how this would work for the average citizen. I guess I'm representative of that. And the only thing I'd say is we had trouble getting onto YouTube, which was the difficult part for me. But I think I can hear all of you and see all of you. It seems very straightforward.
Yeah, we can't see you, but
Okay, that may not necessarily be a bad thing. I can see Director Smith, and then my box is next to him to the right. And it goes to Damian and Commissioner Barnes. Chair is in the second row, second one from the left, Chesney, Commissioner Taylor, and then Commissioner Reed on the bottom row, Commissioner John, and then Jessica, and then Commissioner Blacko, and then Commissioner Gower at the bottom.
yeah, I think everybody's order's a little different, but we're all here.
Yeah.
As long as you can hear me.
Yes,
The difficult part was the YouTube, which we still haven't succeeded in achieving. So I just basically queued up the Zoom and sat here and waited. And can you hear me fine?
yes, very well.
Okay. I would say basically the lack of my video is probably on my computer side and not necessarily the system. So, well, aside from that, that's all I have to offer for you. It's a pleasure. I wish you good luck with all of your business. I'll be brief because you have a full evening, and I will conclude.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
I've received none.
Okay. Item 5, approval of the minutes.
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
move to approve the minutes of the February 27th, 2020 Regional Planning Commission.
Is there a second?
Chesney, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Gower, I abstain. I wasn't at that meeting.
Okay. We missed you. All right. Turning my agenda. Business of the day, item 6. This is a public hearing item. So Director Smith.
Yes, thank you very much. We're going to bring in Nate Kusha to give us a presentation for this item. It's item 6A for possible action, a public hearing, conformance review of the Reno Master Plan with the newly adopted 2019 Regional Plan. It's CR 20-002. And it looks like policy analyst Nate Kusha is here, so he'll go ahead and give us the presentation.
Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm going to share my screen here so we can see this. All right, everyone see that all right?
Yes.
Fine.
Perfect. All right, so good evening, commissioners. This is a conformance review for the City of Reno Master Plan, case number CR 20-002. So we're going to go ahead and start with some background on master plan and facilities plan reviews after a new regional plan is adopted. And this background will apply to all of the master plan and facilities plan conformance reviews that you'll see tonight. So that is any of the presentations by myself or by Chris Tolley. So first off, NRS 278.028 requires local jurisdictions and affected entities to submit their master's plan, facilities plan, or a similar plan to TMRPA for review of conformance with the regional plan within 60 days of adoption of a regional plan. The RPC then has 180 days from that submittal to determine conformance of the submitted plan. So these timeframes are pretty tight that NRS lays out, and we recognize that, and it's a little bit unreasonable to think that an affected entity or a local jurisdiction could go ahead and incorporate all of the new concepts of a new master plan into their plan and submit it to us within 2 months of a plan being adopted. So what we do and able to confine conformance with the plan is we use what we call the list of scheduled additions. Now, this is not a new concept. Some of you have probably seen this before. We do have a few changes this time around. So this on the slide that you can see is an example of a past list of scheduled additions for the City of Sparks Master Plan. So some of the notable changes are on this scheduled additions. You can see that the schedule is set as summer 2016. We've decided this time around to be a little bit more specific with the dates. So we've actually got it down to a specific month. So rather than say summer 2016, it'll say June 2016, whatever that date is. So it's a little more specified. So we have a target that we're really trying to hit. Secondly, we will be revisiting the scheduled additions when they are due. So any of the additions that are added to a master plan or facilities plan, you guys will see because it'll have to come as a regular master plan amendment conformance review. So you guys will see the additions as they come, but if some of them for whatever reason aren't done by the kind of due dates that we have set, then we will bring it back to you guys at that time. We'll revisit the scheduled additions and we'll say, okay, these 3 say have not been completed at this date. What do we want to do at that point going forward? We can do an extension or try to set some consequence if that's the RPC's desire. But just gives us a target and a constant check-in on these scheduled additions to make sure we're tracking. All right, so in addition to all that, the 2019 regional plan was updated in close coordination with jurisdictional and affected entity partners to ensure that all our plans were in alignment. And because of this, there are actually fairly few scheduled additions for these plans. And for the most part, these scheduled additions actually focus on the new concepts that were developed in concert with partners during the update process. And as a final note, we are hearing the City of Reno Master Plan Conformance Review first tonight, because following this presentation, we will hear actually our first case under the newly adopted 2019 Regional Plan, which is in the City of Reno's jurisdiction. So just to make sure that we're in alignment, we are hearing this Master Plan Conformance Review before hearing the case that lies within the jurisdiction. All right, so the Reno Master Plan was last updated in 2018. It's the Reimagine Reno. I'm sure you guys know about that. It was submitted for conformance review with the new regional plan on November 25th, 2019. So it is regional planning staff's determination that the City of Reno Master Plan does conform with the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan and that's contingent upon the list of scheduled additions, which we will go ahead and walk through. So just as a reminder, policy RC9 of the 2019 regional plan identifies 5 factors that the RPC must consider when evaluating whether a project of regional significance, a master plan, facilities plan, joint plan, cooperative plan, program of annexation, or similar plan is consistent and or compatible with policies of the regional plan. So overhead, you can see those kind of 5 factors. It is the 5 sections of our policy chapter of the new regional plan. We're going to go ahead and walk through each of these sections and kind of what the schedule additions for each of these sections are for the Reno master plan for this one, and also pull out some highlights of whether the plan actually does conform already. So for population growth, the growth and reinvestment framework chapter of the Reno master plan cites the consensus forecasts for population projection, which is required by regional plan policy PG3, and generally furthers the objectives and policies of the regional plan. As far as scheduled additions for this section, there's only one. While the Reno master plan discusses coordination with the home consortium is a requirement, it does not specifically address the regional strategy for housing affordability that you guys have all seen. That's also a requirement of our new plan. See how they're utilizing that, or what's their approach to incorporate that, just some language adding there. So that's the only one for population growth. Regional form. So guiding principle 2 of the Reno master plan, which is titled Responsible and Well-Managed Growth, contains policies that prioritize development in core areas, aim to protect compact development, facilitate infill and redevelopment, and generally enhance the core areas. This is in alignment with the intent of the regional form section of the regional plan. However, due to the tiering concept being a new addition to the regional plan, the Reno master plan obviously does not yet address this concept. So we've asked for just some acknowledgement of the regional land designations, which are also called the tiers, and as well as the priority hierarchy of the regional land designations. In addition, referencing the density requirements of those regional land designations, which is the table in policy RF3. And then finally, in addition, policy RF11 requires local government master plans to address land use compatibility. So the Reno master plan does actually address compatibility for several city neighborhoods in a detailed way. However, it does not specifically address the compatibility of land uses at the master plan level in kind of a comprehensive manner. So we would just ask for some language to be included saying that they are doing that and at what level they are doing. Public facilities and services. Responsible and well-managed growth, which as previously mentioned is guiding principle 2 of the Reno master plan, contains many goals that pertain to the provision of public services and facilities, including supporting a fiscally responsible growth pattern, improving existing levels of service, and ensuring effective, efficient, and equitable delivery of city services and infrastructure. So this section of the master plan meets most of the requirements of the new regional plan. The only addition for this section is to include language ensuring that the commensurate promotion of facilities and services are provided in line with the promoted development priorities. So that's kind of the priority hierarchy for development in the regional form section. We have the same sort of thing, ensuring that the public facilities are in line with that priority hierarchy as well. One way we'll be enforcing this kind of going forward is through the facilities and service standards table in policy PF1. For a natural resource, the guiding principle 7, quality places and outdoor recreation opportunities of the proposed Reno master plan, contains the natural resource protection policies of the plan, including policies to protect environmentally sensitive areas, the development constraints area, and air quality. And this section does generally conform with the policies in the regional plan. Regional plan policy NR5 does necessitate that local government master plans include strategies to ensure that scenic, public safety, and environmental values of the site and the region as a whole is not degraded for slopes greater than 15 and less than 30%. So the Reno master plan does recognize the importance of constrained development on slopes, and it's kind of a technicality. We're just asking them to specifically call out those 15 to 30% slopes. It doesn't do that specifically right now, and we've talked with staff and they're on board with that. Finally, we have regional coordination. So the requirements for local governments in this section relate to joint and cooperative plans, neither of which currently exist. as well as the establishment of the spheres of influence for both cities, which in the case of the city of Reno was not altered during the update process. And TMRPA found no conformance issues with the Reno Master Plan for this policy section, so there are no additions. So with that, there's a proposed motion on the screen here, and I'm available to answer any questions.
So this is a public hearing item. Before we ask for public comment, is there any questions from the commissioners?
I have none.
Madam Chair,
Angela has joined us. I'm sorry, Commissioner Gower.
thank you, Madam Chair. Question. So for the scheduled additions, what's the, I guess, legal mechanism or policy that we use that's the basis of that tool?
I didn't quite catch the whole question, so it was cutting out a little bit. Can you repeat it?
Sorry, so what's the, Nate, what's the legal basis or the underlying mechanism that we use for those scheduled additions? What enables the agency to do that?
I'm probably going to turn it over to legal to kind of answer that, but it's just the fact that because NRS requires us to make these findings within that time frame, the scheduled additions is kind of allowing us to be able to do that, because it is unreasonable to have them update their plan within the 2 months, and if we don't find conformance with it, to send it back to them, update in that time frame is very kind of short. So we do the scheduled additions saying that it is in conformance as long as these happens. What I think kind of help put you at ease with that maybe is the fact that these scheduled additions do come back to you as conformance reviews. So when they're added, us as staff will take it upon ourselves to recognize, oh, this is being added in this plan because we did require it as part of a scheduled addition. We'll let you know that, and then it'll be up to you at that point. You can say, well, we're not satisfied with how this was added or what this is saying, and you could find it non-conformance at that point. If that answers.
From the legal perspective, I'm sorry, I'm echoing back, but the scheduled additions is past practice of the agency. I think of it almost as if you're conditioning your approval of the conformance review process upon the fact that you're making a list of scheduled additions and the local government needs to adhere to them. And this is something that has been done, I think, almost through every single update, to my knowledge, and going back and doing the research. So it's something common. You guys are at liberty to determine what the schedule for the scheduled additions looks like. And that's where they're not governed by NRS. That's within the discretion of this body to determine what is the time frame and what's reasonable to work with the local government to ensure that they get the changes made in their master plan. And Nate's absolutely correct that the scheduled additions concept originally came about because of the time frames in which for the local governments to submit their plans for review after an adoption of a regional plan update. So that's why, to try to work within those statutory time frames and put almost a relief valve in place for the local governments. That's why this concept has been utilized again and again in the past for this agency.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. I guess the follow-up question then is, what recourse does the agency have for ensuring that the scheduled additions are implemented? And I'm not saying it's an issue for the Reno Master Plan or any of the other plans that we're seeing tonight, but what is the mechanism to ensure that they're incorporated?
There's not an enforcement mechanism set forth in NRS, and neither is there one in our regulations. In some ways, we are working cooperatively with the local governments, and this is, at times, has been an issue in the past. And I'd have to do more research and look into it further to see what would we do if we were confronted with blatant non-compliance by a local government or an effective entity as far as completely regarding the scheduled additions. So I can bring that back to you, Commissioner Gower, at our next meeting, if you'd like.
Yeah, I think I would appreciate that. And it's, you know, having been around the concept for a while, you know, I think it's an important one for the agency to continue to consider. Again, not necessarily having to do with any of the plans that we're looking at tonight, but in the future as we're, you know, seeing more plans under this new regional plan, you know, and looking for that level of conformance with those new policies, you know, I think we want to be able to ensure as a regional agency that those plans are indeed, you know, fulfilling their requirements to conform. And that means to, you know, incorporate that list of scheduled additions and not let it languish year after year.
I agree completely, Commissioner Gower. I think my initial recommendation upon deadlines set forth in the scheduled additions that you approve, that we make sure that those are agendized and we bring back the local government or the effective entity to basically give the status report and report back. And in some ways that will help bring the issue to light if there is an issue. And if there is some reasons for delay, that can be addressed in a meeting before the commissioners and the entire board. Or if they're moving on track, but they might need another month or so, something like that. But I think we certainly should be calendaring all of the scheduled additions dates. And I recommend that we do schedule those and follow up on within your regular meeting schedule to make sure that the local government is at least coming back and saying, if they can't make a scheduled addition for some particular reason, what is that, and seek an extension from this commission.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I think I agree wholeheartedly with legal on that. And I think we recognize that in the past, there has been a delay in meeting the scheduled addition. And so we have specifically tried to tighten the time frames through which, you know, we went from summer to an actual month. And further, those additions are going to live along with the plan as we do any conformance reviews in the interim. So if an item were to come up that was affected by the scheduled addition, you would hear about that during our presentation and analysis on that item, and you would be able to react accordingly.
So if I may, to kind of tag on to what Commissioner Gower would say. So example, we have their list of scheduled additions for right now, and it says November 2020. So when would we agendize this? Would it be December or would it be the November? It would be December meeting?
Yes, I believe the December meeting would be the appropriate meeting to.
Okay, thank you. Other questions of staff? We also have City of Reno staff, if you have questions of Angela.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
just to help clarify as well, we have worked with each individual jurisdiction or affected entity when setting this schedule for these additions as well, to make sure that we're kind of in alignment to see what's reasonable for adding these, as well as kind of aligning with when they may already have some scheduled amendments or updates to their plans already, and just so we can kind of bundle it all together so it's not an extra burden on them as well.
So any other questions before we see if we have public comment? Okay, do we have any public comment on this item?
I've received none at this time.
Okay, so we'll close the public hearing on this and bring it back to the board for consideration and a motion. And while you're thinking of all that, commissioners, because we're all virtual, we will be doing a roll call vote.
Madam Chair, I'm ready to make a motion if you're ready for that. Or Commissioner Taylor can too. I'm fine with that.
Go for it.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Taylor, I move to find the City of Master Plan in conformance with the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan based on the findings listed in the report.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Do I do that or does?
Damien, if you could please call the names, that'd be great.
Yeah, were you able to, James Barnes?
He said aye, even though he's muted.
Oh, okay. David Blako?
Aye.
Larry Chesney?
Aye.
Sarah Chavilicek?
Aye.
Peter Gower?
Aye.
Mark Johnson?
Aye.
Shelley Reed?
Aye.
Kathleen Taylor?
Aye.
And Diane Vanderwell.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. So,
Thank you, commissioners.
yes. Bye, Angela. You can stay if you want. But okay, we're
Angela,
on.
please stay. The next
yes,
item.
the next item. Item 6B, Director Smith.
Thank you. So item 6B for possible action, a public hearing, the 2019 Regional Plan Conformance Review, Live Plus CR 20-010, a master plan amendment from minus 1.76 acres of single-family neighborhood, SF, and plus or minus 3.16 acres of parks, greenways, and open space, PGOS, to plus or minus 4.67 acres of multifamily neighborhood, MF, and plus or minus 0.25 acres of parks, greenways, and open space, GOS. The 7.04 acre site is located north of the intersection of Wells Avenue and Winston Drive. And for this conformance review presentation, we have TMRPA Regional Planner Shani Sousa to take us in. So go ahead, Shani.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's get this going. All right. How's that? Everyone see it all right? Okay. All right. Good evening, commissioners. Shani Sousa, Team RPA for the record. This presentation is for a regional plan conformance review for City of Reno Master Plan Amendment, case number CR20-010 Live Plus, which can be found starting on page 15 of your packet. All right, so here's just a brief overview. The request is for a master plan amendment to change the single family and a portion of open space land uses to multifamily land use on an approximately 5-acre site. It should be noted the original 2 parcels submitted included in the request are approximately 7 acres in total. However, the largest parcel to the northwest is the parcel that is requested specifically for a land use change, which is now how we get the approximate 5 acres rather than the total 7 acres. For our determination, regional planning staff concludes that the proposed amendment to the master plan conforms with the 2019 Truckee Meadows regional plan to multifamily land use on an approximately 5-acre site. It should be. All right, so on the screen in front of you is a map showing the general location of the amendment site within the newly adopted tiered structure from our 2019 plan. The subject property is located in Tier 1 of the TMSA. Our Tier 1 is an area within the TMSA where moderate varying range development is expected, and it's second in our priority hierarchy for development. The intensification of the site is encouraged in the regional plan, and because this is a request for a master plan amendment to increase the residential land use area as well as density, this meets the requirements of the land designation for Tier 1. A variety of residential and non-residential uses do exist in this area, and the majority of the area within this tier is already developed or within close proximity to existing development. Additionally, just as a note, per policy PG4, TMRPA is tasked with ensuring local government master plans include strategies for the provision of housing to support growth. By increasing housing density and housing diversity in this area, the proposed amendment is consistent with the policies of the regional plan. So here's a little closer look of the map we just saw within our tiered structure. As I discussed previously, the larger parcel to the northwest is the parcel that's requested for a land use change. Here you can see it's outlined and crosshatched. The other parcel to the east will remain suburban mixed use. The site is located north of the intersection of Wells Avenue and Winston Drive. The surrounding properties north and south are designated single-family residential, and to the east, general commercial, industrial, suburban mixed use, and the west, vacant, multi-residential, parks, greenways, and open space. From a regional perspective, this amendment for an increase in housing density is compatible with the surrounding land uses. The public infrastructure required to serve the site is currently in place or in close proximity to the subject site is expected for sites within Tier 1 boundary. Additionally, the City of Reno concurrency management system ensures new development does not create a financial burden for existing residents or decrease existing levels of service. So on the screen in front of you is a map showing the aerial imagery of the subject site. And by the way, this imagery is from 2016, so the areas surrounding the site are actually a little more developed than shown here. Some policy highlights in terms of natural resources. The first one we have is NR4, which requires local government master plans to include strategies to preserve public open space areas. This master plan amendment will result in a minor loss of around 3 acres of open space. However, the existing designation of open space on the site accounts for the presence of residual agricultural land that has not been available for public access. The portion of the subject site that will be maintaining the open space land use with this change is the area where the ore ditch crosses the site, and that will help to preserve this open drainage channel. Additionally, policy NR5 of the plan ensures for management strategies of natural slopes greater than 15%, but less than or equal to 30%. The site is generally flat with slopes of 15% or less present, and as mentioned by Nate in the previous presentation, this requirement for slope management has been included in the scheduled additions to be addressed for the City of Reno Master Plan. That being said, to protect natural slopes, the City of Reno Master Plan does currently include hillside development standards that require reduced density and increased open space for sites with an average slope of 10% or slopes of 15% or greater present on 25% or more of the area proposed for development. To conclude just all of our highlights, the proposal is not likely to impact our natural resources. Policy RC9 of the 2019 Regional Plan identifies 5 factors that the RPC must consider when evaluating conformance. In the previous slides, we've addressed the following factors with the exception of regional coordination. Staff has found no applicable policies within this section for this review, with the exception of the overarching policy RC9, conformance review findings. You can find the suggested motion on the screen in front of you or on page 19 of your packet. This concludes my presentation. Team RPA as well as City of Reno staff are available for any questions.
So do we have any questions for staff or the City of Reno by commissioners? Being none, I'll ask if there's any public comment.
We have none at this time.
So we'll close that public hearing and bring it back to the board for consideration.
Madam Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Commissioner Vanderwell.
I move to find the LIV Plus Master Plan Amendment to the City of Reno Master Plan in conformance with the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan based on the findings listed in the staff report.
Commissioner Johnson, I will second that motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? We will do a roll call vote again.
James Barnes,
Aye.
David Blako,
Aye.
Larry Chesney,
Aye.
Sarah Chavilicek,
Aye.
Peter Gower,
Yes.
Mark Johnson,
Aye.
Shelley Reed,
Aye.
Kathleen Taylor,
Aye.
and Diane Vanderwell.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. So I'm going to shift some more pieces of paper around here. So we're now to item 6C. Director Smith.
Thank you very much. On to 6C, yep, we're going to have Chris Tolley join us. He's going to be doing this presentation. Item 6C is for possible action, a public hearing, a conformance review of the 2040 Regional Transportation Plan with the adopted 2019 Regional Plan, CR 20-004. We also have staff joining from the Regional Transportation Commission, so they'll be available to answer questions too. At this point, I'll turn it over to Regional Planner Chris.
Good evening. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and set that up. So give me a second.
Regional Transportation Plan, adopted 2019 Regional Plan, CR 20-004. But we also have staff joining from the Regional Transportation Commission. So there'll be. I believe someone has the live stream and it's filtering through.
Pretty sure I muted mine, but I'll give it a second.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. Chris Tolley, Team RPA. Thank you for the opportunity to present remotely from the convenience of my house. As introduced, this case is a regional plan conformance review for the 2040 Regional Transportation Plan. The Regional Transportation Plan, or RTP, is a long-range planning document that contains public transportation, street and highway, bicycle, pedestrian, traffic system management, and travel demand management projects and services. The Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, or RTC, as a designated metropolitan planning organization, is required to develop and update the RTP. The RTC is currently working to update the 2040 RTP, which will be known as the 2050 RTP. The update is expected to utilize a similar format. While specific policy requirements related to the regional land designations, in example tiers, and the facilities and service standards are absent, TMRPA staff has found that the RTP conforms with the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan, and that only minor changes or inclusions are needed. And then to cover the review criteria, the RPC is required to review each jurisdiction's master plan and affected entities plan for conformance with the newly adopted 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan. Policy RC9, shown on the slide, identifies the 5 factors that the RPC must consider when evaluating the conformance of a master plan, facilities plan, or similar plan with the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan. The following slides will address these 5 factors. As required by policies PG2 and PG3, travel demand estimates that inform the selection of projects in the 2040 RTP are based on the forecast provided by TMRPA. The 2040 RTP and the newly adopted regional plan continue to be aligned regarding population growth. The 2040 RTP supports the existing policy framework of the Truckee Meadows service area. Additionally, the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan and are aligned in terms of the desired future core of the region. Finally, the scheduled addition for this section, as provided in attachment 1 to the staff report, Team RPA believes that it is important for all partners in the region to recognize the tiers as outlined in the regional plan. Additionally, the forthcoming 2050 RTP should describe how the tiers influence the regional roadway project prioritization list. The facility and standards table, policy PF1, considered together with a priority hierarchy, policy RF2, provide guidance regarding what transportation improvements should support in terms of densities and intensities. The final set of scheduled additions for the 2040 RTP include 1.4, policy PF1. For the purpose of implementing this policy, Team RPA is requiring that the standards table be acknowledged in the 2050 RTP. And for policy PF2, Team RPA has included a scheduled addition ensuring that the promotion of the transportation facilities and services are provided in line with the regional plan promoted development priorities. Most of the natural resources section does not directly apply to the 2040 RTP. However, many of the 2040 RTP's guiding principles, goals, and near-term projects further the goals of the region-related air quality, scenic resources, cultural resources, and others. Finally, the 2040 RTP supports project design and construction methods that protect natural resources in general. And finally, regarding the regional coordination section, there are no specific requirements for affected entities, and Team RPA has found no conformance issues with the 2040 RTP. So in conclusion, the previous slides presented a summary of staff's analysis for the subject case. As noted on the overview slide, staff recommends approval with the 3 scheduled additions. The proposed motion is on the screen or on page 53 of the meeting packet. This does conclude my presentation, and thank you. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Chris. Commissioners, do you have any questions of regional planning staff or regional transportation staff? Seeing none, I'll ask, is there any public comment on this item?
I have no public comment at this time.
Okay, so we'll close public comment and bring it back to the board for consideration.
Madam Chair, I'm ready to make a motion. In the subject matter, sorry, I'm just pulling up my motion here. I move to find the 2040 Regional Transportation Plan in conformance with the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan, and I would like to add, if I could, subject to fulfillment of the list of scheduled additions based on the findings listed in the staff report.
Commissioner Chesney, second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? So once again, we'll do a roll call vote.
James Barnes,
Aye.
David Blako,
Aye.
Larry Chesney,
Aye.
Sarah Chavilicek,
Yes.
Peter Gower,
Yes.
Mark Johnson,
Aye.
Shelley Reed,
Aye.
Kathleen Taylor,
Aye.
and Diane Vanderwell.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. So now to item 6D.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you guys for your patience. We're halfway through the action, so we're doing a great job. Okay, so the next item for public hearing is item 6D, for possible action, public hearing, conformance review of the City of Sparks comprehensive plan with the newly adopted 2019 regional plan, CR 20-03. And I believe we have Jim Rundle from the City of Sparks connecting right now from City of Sparks staff to answer questions as needed. And this presentation will be given by policy analyst Nate Kusha.
Good evening, commissioners. Again, for the record, Nate Kusha. Go ahead and share my screen.
Nate, if I may. So if everybody who is not speaking, if you could mute, please, because I think Mr. Rundle is coming in off of, and we can hear the YouTube.
Okay. So, as Jeremy just said, this is the conformance review for the City of Sparks Comprehensive Plan, case CR 20-003. So the Sparks Comprehensive Plan was last updated in 2016, and it was submitted to Team RPA staff for conformance review with the new regional plan on November 21st, 2019. And regional planning staff has concluded that the City of Sparks comprehensive plan conforms with the 2019 Truckee Meadows regional plan. So as you've seen many times already, policy RC 9 identifies the 5 factors the RPC must consider when evaluating master plan conformance with the policies of the regional plan listed on the slide here. We'll go ahead and walk through population growth. So the population narrative, as well as the housing and affordability sections of the Sparks Comprehensive Plan, cites the consensus forecast for population projection, which is required by Regional Plan Policy PG3, and generally furthers the objectives and policies of the 2019 Regional Plan. As far as scheduled additions for this section, the Sparks Comprehensive Plan does not discuss coordination with the Home Consortium and does not specifically address the regional strategy for housing affordability, which are both required by PG4. in the new plan. So those have been added as scheduled additions. For regional form, the Sparks Comprehensive Plan contains policies that prioritize development in core areas, aim to promote compact development, facilitate infill and redevelopment, and enhance the downtown Sparks Center, which aligns with the objectives and policies of the regional plan again. However, as mentioned with the City of Reno Master Plan Conformance Review, due to the hearing concept being a new addition to the regional plan, the Sparks Comprehensive Plan does not yet address this concept. So we've asked for acknowledgement of the regional land designations, i.e. tiers, the priority hierarchy of the regional land designations, as well as referencing the density requirements for those land designations. In addition, policy RF11 requires local government master plans to address land use compatibility. Sparks Comprehensive Plan does not specifically address the compatibility of land uses at the master plan level in a comprehensive manner, so we have asked for this to be included as well. For public facilities and services, the Sparks Comprehensive Plan contains various community services and facilities goals and policies that promote the regional plan in terms of the provision of public facilities and services. The additions for this section is to include in language ensuring that the promotion of facilities and services are in line with the promoted development priorities, priority hierarchy as previously mentioned, and the same addition for the City of Reno Master Plan. Other additions include including how the comprehensive plan policies related to sanitary sewer, potable water, flood control, and groundwater aquifer recharge relate to and implement the regional water management plan. In addition, we are looking for the inclusion of some specific policies in the regional plan relating to utility corridor and sites. Natural resources policies in the resiliency and conservation section of the Sparks Comprehensive Plan require a variety of natural resource considerations to be addressed, including air quality, ridgelines, wildlife habitat, among many others. And this section generally conforms with the policies of the natural resource section in the regional plan. And similar to the previous public facilities and service section, the only addition for this section is the inclusion of language of how the comprehensive plan policies relating to the conservation of water, natural recharge areas, floodplains, and stormwater runoff relate to and implement the regional water management plan. Finally, regional coordination. So as previously mentioned, the requirements for local governments in this section relate to joint cooperative plans, neither of which currently exist, as well as the establishment of the spheres of influence for both cities. So as part of the regional plan update process, the City of Sparks worked with Washoe County to actually roll back some portions of its sphere of influence in areas that are already developed or not intended to be annexed into the incorporated city. So because of that, an addition has been added to ensure that the land use maps in the Sparks Comprehensive Plan reflect these changes. And finally, overhead is the proposed motion, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Nate. Do we have any questions? Commissioners, do you have any questions of staff? Okay, seeing none. Do we have any public comment on this?
I have none for this item.
We have no public comment tonight. Okay, so no public comment. We'll bring it back to the board for consideration.
Madam Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Commissioner Vanderwell.
I move to find the City of Sparks Comprehensive Plan with the list of scheduled additions in conformance with the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan based on the findings listed in the staff report.
Commissioner Chesney, second.
Thank you. Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, once again, we'll do a roll call vote.
James Barnes,
Aye.
David Blako,
Aye.
Larry Chesney,
Aye.
Sarah Chavilicek,
Yes.
Peter Gower,
Yes.
Mark Johnson,
Aye.
Shelley Reed,
Aye.
Kathleen Taylor,
Aye.
and Diane Vanderwell.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. So our next agenda item is item 6E. Director Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Moving on to the next item, 6E, for possible action, public hearing, conformance review of the 2016 to 2036 Regional Water Management Plan with the newly adopted 2019 Regional Plan, CR 20-005. And right now we have Jim Smitherman from the Western Regional Water Commission joining the call. So we'll kind of wait for his audio to connect, and then we will have Regional Planner Chris Tolley to once again take us through the presentation for this item. Still connecting. We'll give it one more shot, and if it doesn't connect easily, I will send a text message to Jim to try to help troubleshoot.
Yes, Jeremy, because I'm not even seeing him popping up on my screen at all. So.
Okay, I'm gonna shoot him a text.
Chris, you need to unmute.
There we go. I guess I'll launch into this. Good evening, commissioners. You could hear me, right? Good evening, commissioners. Chris Tolley, Team RPA. Thanks for the opportunity to present again remotely from the convenience of my house. As introduced, this case is a regional plan conformance review for the 2016-2035 Regional Water Management Plan. The Regional Water Management Plan, or RWMP, is a comprehensive plan covering municipal and industrial water supply, water quality, sanitary sewerage, sewage treatment, stormwater drainage, and flood control prepared in accordance with Chapter 531, Statute of Nevada, 2007. Chapter 531 required the Western Regional Water Commission, or WRWC, to adopt the initial comprehensive water plan. And the plan is required to be reviewed every 5 years at a minimum by the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission. WRWC staff are currently initializing an update to 2016-2035 RWMP, which is expected to be finalized towards the end of 2020 or in early 2021. Finally, while specific policy requirements related to the regional land designations or tiers and the facilities and service standards are absent, Team RPA staff has found that the RWMP conforms with the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan and that only minor changes or inclusions are needed. Going over the review criteria again, the RPC is required to review each jurisdiction's master plan or affected entity's plan for conformance with the newly adopted 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan. Policy RC9, shown on this slide, identifies 5 factors that the RPC must consider when evaluating the conformance of a master plan, facilities plan, or similar plan with the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan. The following slides will address these 5 factors. The consensus forecast process includes a component that verifies the identified sustainable water resources are available to serve the forecasted population growth. The RWMP and newly adopted regional plan continue to be aligned regarding population growth. The 2016-2035 RWMP primarily implements the regional plan's objectives and policies related to regional form within the perspective of the Truckee Meadows service area, where public services and infrastructure are anticipated to be provided, versus the rural area, including dispersed residential, employment, and other uses. Finally, the scheduled addition for this section, as provided in attachment 1 of the staff report, Team RPA believes it is important for all partners in the region to recognize the tiers as outlined in the regional plan. Additionally, the forthcoming 2021-2040 RWMP should describe how the tiers are incorporated into the policy framework. While the RWMP does not provide for actual facilities and services, public facilities services are a component of the plan. The final set of scheduled additions for the 2016-2035 RWMP include 1.4 Policy PF1. For the purpose of implementing this policy, TMRPA is requiring that the standards table be acknowledged in the RWMP. And for policy PF2, TMRPA has included a scheduled addition to include language ensuring the promotion of water, wastewater, and stormwater facilities and services are provided in line with the regional plan promoted development priorities. Most of the natural resources element does not directly apply to the 2016-2035 RWMP. However, many of the goals, objectives, and policies further the goals of the region related to protection and enhancement of groundwater, recharge, water quality, effluent reuse, and others. Finally, regarding regional coordination, there are no specific requirements for affected entities, and TMRPA has found no conformance issues with the 2016-2035 RWMP. In conclusion, the previous slides presented a summary of staff's analysis for the subject case. As noted on the overview slide, staff recommends approval with the 3 scheduled additions. The proposed motion is on the screen for now, or on page 77 of the meeting packet. This does conclude my presentation, and thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Did we have regional water staff join us yet?
Madam Chair, yes, Jim is available and can hear us, but his camera's not working, but he is there.
Okay. Do we have, commissioners, do you have questions of staff, either regional planning staff or regional water staff? If not, we'll go to public comment. Do we have any public comment on this item?
I have received no public comment for this item.
Okay. We'll close public comment and bring it back to the board for consideration.
Madam Chair, I'd propose a motion.
Commissioner Chesney.
I move to find the 2016-2035 Regional Water Management Plan in conformance with the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan based on the findings listed in the staff report.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Reed, second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll go to roll call vote.
James Barnes,
Aye.
David Blako,
Aye.
Larry Chesney,
Aye.
Sarah Chivilicek,
Yes.
Peter Gower,
Yes.
Mark Johnson,
Aye.
Shelley Reed,
Aye.
Kathleen Taylor,
Aye.
and Diane Vanderwell.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. We'll now move on to item 6F. Director Smith.
Fantastic. Thank you, Madam Chair. On to the last action item, and we're going to have Adam Searcy from the school district staff joining us here in a sec to the meeting. This is item 6F for possible action, public hearing. Conformance review of the 2020 to 2039 Washoe County School District Facilities Plan with the newly adopted 2019 Regional Plan, CR 20-001. Now, just take a sec I just want to kind of call out before Nate Kusha is going to begin his presentation that it's been a fantastic experience working with the school district to get to this point. In the past, there's been less emphasis in that coordination and this sort of plan document from the district. And so they have been really excellent in collaborating with us to create this facilities plan. And we just think it's a big win for the region that now, similar to the RTP and the RWMP, we have a Washoe County School District facilities plan that helps know what that entity is planning in terms of new school location. So with that, I'll turn it over to Nate Kusha. Thank you.
Good evening again, commissioners. Last one. Almost there. All right. So this is a conformance review for the Washoe County School District Facilities Plan, case number CR 20-001. So the Washoe County School District Facilities Plan acts as the capital improvement program for the school district and contains information on the funding of capital projects and the projects needed, as well as the expected timeframes for those projects. In addition, the facilities plan includes population and student enrollment projections, identifies current and future school facility sites by area, as well as ancillary facility siting. Similar, as Jeremy mentioned, similar to the RTP and the RWMP, any amendments to this plan will come to the RPC for review. So the Washoe County School District was actually in the process of updating its facilities plan concurrently with the submittal time frame for the facility plan submittals for the newly adopted regional plan. Because of this, Team RPA was able to work with school district staff to ensure that the new facilities plan conform with the new regional plan, and thus there are no scheduled additions for this item. And due to this fact, this presentation is going to highlight how the two plans are in alignment rather than any scheduled additions and where they're not. So as mentioned many times now, hopefully this is hammered in. Policy RC9 is the 5 factors the RPC considers when evaluating a conformance review to make sure it's consistent or compatible with the new regional plan. So in terms of population growth, the Washoe County School District Facilities Plan furthers the objectives and policies of the regional plan by utilizing the consensus forecast as required by Regional Plan Policy PG3 to project population and student enrollment and using these projections to assess the need for new schools or the expansion of existing schools. Moving on to regional form, the Washoe County School District Facilities Plan identifies that the proposed sites of future school facilities depend on future residential developments, and thus the extent that the planned school facilities comply with the priority hierarchy for development depends on whether those approved and planned developments also comply with the priority hierarchy. But to put it more simply, the need for new schools is influenced by where new residences are located. So there are 2 policies specific to the Washoe County School District Facilities Plans in our Public Facilities and Services section of the regional plan. PF8, which requires that the facilities plan must not allow for new school sites for less than 1,200 students. That necessitates a new speed-controlled zone on an arterial roadway. And PF9, which requires that it must not allow for new schools with more than 300 full-time students in the rural area. So the Washoe County School District Facilities Plan specifically addresses both of these policies in its facility siting requirements, satisfying these regional plan requirements. For natural resources, facility siting requirement 3 of the facilities plan states that any development of new school facilities or expansion of existing facilities shall avoid encroachment into areas with identified natural development constraints. Such areas shall be left in their undeveloped state wherever possible, and where such encroachments are unavoidable, design plans will provide, to the extent feasible, additional design features to mitigate the visual impact of necessary encroachment. This requirement directly meets the regional plan policy NR3, which requires limitations on development within the development constraints area. In addition to the facilities plan includes the Washoe County School District Board Policy 7400 as Appendix 1 to their plan, which requires that all Washoe County School District schools and facilities to implement practices which are not harmful to or which limit the depletion of natural resources and enhance building and facility performance, among other things, meeting the natural resource policies of the regional plan. Finally, the regional coordination section of the regional plan mostly contains policies related to process and review internal to Team RPA. There are no specific requirements for affected entities in this element. However, the fact that we are reviewing a school's facilities plan is a great example of regional coordination, and Team RPA has found no conformance issues with the Washoe County School District Facilities Plan per policy RC9. So with that, the proposed motion is overhead. And again, this is contingent upon the scheduled additions. And if you have any questions, I am available.
Thank you, Nate. Do we have, commissioners, do you have any questions for regional planning staff or Washoe County School District staff?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Gower, I have a quick question. I promise it'll be quick.
No problem.
So there were no scheduled additions related to the tiering, and I see in their plan that the plan addresses essentially RF2, saying that proposed sites of future schools are dependent on future development, and I get that. There's also the argument that, particularly with high schools, that they create a draw for future development. And the location of those schools, potentially with the bigger draw area, could be placed in a tier that serves an area that's in a different tier. And I'm curious how regional planning staff address that potential concept.
Well, I will say that the facilities plan that has been submitted does have the maps showing where all of the planned future schools are. And so I think what we would say is that as long as those seem to be in line with where development already is planned and going, and there's nothing kind of out there promoting new development in an area that isn't planned to be developed or currently developing, then that would be a reason for non-conformance. But the map does show that if a school is added, if they identify they need a new school because some sort of development or other reason, it would come back to you for review at that time for a conformance review, and you can make that determination at that point.
So regional planning staff doesn't consider the location of the schools relative to the tiers and how those school locations would potentially influence future development. That's not a consideration when looking at the school district's plan.
If I could jump in here, please. This is Jeremy Smith, the record. In this current iteration of what we're doing right now, we are a little bit hamstrung by the fact that I have not completed the consensus forecast spatial disaggregation, which is really the way that we will take our best guess collectively about where we think the next 20 years of development will occur. All of the other plans have benefited from previous renditions of the spatial disaggregation we've discussed so far. And given that we're kind of not necessarily breaking new ground with the Washoe County School District facilities plans, but it is an update, we thought it would be smarter to complete that process and then reconvene Team RPA staff and Washoe County School District staff to then bring that spatial information into their plan, and to the degree that it could adjust some of the timeframes they're thinking about in terms of where things might locate, and also in terms of the tiers. That is the new protocol we'll be implementing for our predictions. We're trying to take a regional view, and so we're going to be predicting into the 4 tiers during that spatial disaggregation. So I think that's one way we're going to tie the regional land designations into the school district's facilities plan. But your point's well taken, and I think that discussion about the gravity effect, what comes first, chicken or egg, is very much in our minds as we would evaluate this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gower, because that was going to be my question. So you beat me to it. So great. Any other questions? Do we have any public comment on this item?
We have none for this item either.
All right. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the commission for consideration.
I'm prepared to make a motion, Commissioner Blakely.
Mako, yes, thank you.
I move to find the Washoe County School District Facilities Plan in conformance with the 2019 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan based on the findings listed in the staff report.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Reed.
Commissioner Chesney, second.
Commissioner Reed beat you to it, Commissioner Chesney. Do we have any discussion? Once again, we'll do a roll call vote.
James Barnes,
Aye.
David Blako,
Aye.
Larry Chesney,
Aye.
Sarah Chavilicek,
Yes.
Peter Gower,
Yes.
Mark Johnson,
Aye.
Shelley Reed,
Aye.
Kathleen Taylor,
Aye.
and Diane Vanderwell.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. We'll now move on to item 7, reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Jeremy Smith for the record. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you guys very much for enduring this this online meeting test. I will also add that we plan to bring all of these items at once, but given we canceled our March meeting, we wanted to make sure we were going to meet the statutory timeframes for the review against the new plan. So that's why we kind of had a pretty big caseload for this first meeting online. So far, I think for next month, it'll be a little bit lighter. I will announce that our next meeting is planned for May 28th. There's a very good chance that we could be right here again with Zoom or whatever format to do an online meeting. I think, given we tried the public comment, we didn't have any public comment today other than Norm kind of testing the system. I think he has some thoughts on how we could improve. And possibly by the end of May, there may be a way that we can develop a sort of a hybrid system where some of us go to the chambers, myself, Damien, maybe the chair, and then we're there. And if folks need to come in and actually give public comment in person, that might be a better option. So we're going to continue to evolve and work on this process to make sure that it goes smoothly. I also want to apologize for my fumble on the Pledge of Allegiance. I meant no disrespect on that. You'd think that I'm 46, that I would know how to do that by heart. But I was hearing everyone's in the background saying it, and it was all delayed, and I really got screwed up. So I apologize for that.
So, Jeremy, that's kind of what I suggested, is that maybe just you lead us in the pledge and everybody else stands respectfully and just mutes, because it toggles between everybody's voice.
I think that for the next one, we'll do exactly that. Thank you, Sarah. Let's see, what else did I have? I'm trying to keep it brief here. I just also want to thank the staff from the jurisdictions and the different entities for being available for the meeting. We didn't really have any questions for them, but they were here in case we needed them. So thanks for that. Let's see what else I've got here in my report. The consensus forecast, that came up a lot. And I mentioned that we're still working on the spatial disaggregation. I will say that I've been working on the temporal and total amount aspect of it. And we have all the sources. I should be releasing with draft projections soon. And it looks like the numbers I have, when we average them, we're looking at less than 100,000 people in terms of growth over the next 20 years in the county. So that's pretty much in line with the past two forecasts 2 years ago, 4 years prior to that. It's dropped a bit. I don't know what the impact of the current COVID-19 crisis could be on influencing that. Sometimes, it's less about the total aggregate amount and more about how we realize it. Are we going to have a slow roll and then go up quickly? That kind of a thing. In terms of doing the disaggregation and how it ties into all of these plans, one thing that we like to think about is that we may get the year wrong, right? We may get the year that we're going to see that 100,000 people show up wrong. It might be 5 years later, or if things start booming, it could be 5 years earlier. But we're going to be considering where that can occur, and at some point we will hit it. So we constantly check in every 2 years on that consensus forecast, and in fact, as part of our annual report, we'll be annually looking at how we're doing. But just to kind of keep that in mind, that it's the future, and we're probably never going to get it 100% correct. But we're working to be as accurate as possible. I'm still working on the job count and some of the other metrics, and so keep you posted on that. But as soon as I have the memo, I'll be sure to share it with you so you can see how those sources line up. And then finally, there's a couple of RTC surveys currently in the works. One is a survey, a MetroQuest survey, so that tool that we used for our plan update actually is now being leveraged by RTC, and it's really working great. they're first going to ask about, or they're asking right now about the regional transportation plan. And I think there's also a survey that may be out or is coming out soon to talk about potential expansion in Eagle Canyon. And so those are two things that we're going to put out on our social media. So if you follow us on Facebook, or if you don't, then you can just email me if you want to take those surveys, or email Michael Moreno at the RTC. He could hook you up with that. So those are a couple of things that are happening. And finally, I just want to say, I mean, hopefully you saw today that there was a consistent theme that we had coordinated. I mean, maybe you guys lived it. The regional plan update took a while. And one of the reasons for that was that we were coordinating extensively along the way with all parties to ensure that the plan that we brought forth already aligned with existing plans to the degree that it could. And so I think that's what we've presented tonight, and we've focused in on those new concepts, which are really good concepts, and how we can get those built into the other plans and basically memorialized. So it's not about people, it's really about how these plans connect. I think we're on the right track. So I really appreciate your patience today. And now I will stop talking so we can all end this.
Okay, thank you. We're now on to site 7B, legal counsel report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have nothing to report, and I will bring back my findings on Commissioner Gower's question about the scheduled additions and what we can do to ensure that they are met in a timely manner.
Thank you. That's really appreciated. Item 8, request for future agenda items. All right. Item 9, public comment.
We have none.
I'll put it for public comment in terms of that this format, it is my sincerest hope that we do get to meet in person one day soon. But this does work. And Jeremy, with the Washoe County Planning Commission, we did have a few commissioners in chambers, and we had commissioners online. And the public comment, it came through online, and it worked fairly well. And so actually it worked better than I anticipated. So.
And Madam Chair, if I could just quickly, I know you guys read the agenda, but we tried to get, when we noticed folks aware that they could give us public comment in advance of the meeting. We didn't receive any voicemails. We didn't receive any emails. So I anticipate on some items in the future, that might be a very different story, but at least for this one, this is how it went.
Well, I mean, you have a fairly big issue coming before the governing board, correct?
That is true. And that I appreciate you guys' patience during this meeting, because we want to test these capabilities in advance of that meeting, the daybreak appeal, which will happen most likely in early June.
Any other public comment? Okay, any written correspondence?
We have none. Thank you.
So item 11, possible motion to adjourn.
Chesney, move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Reed, second.
Okay, Commissioner Reed. Okay, thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Aye.
It's been real. Take care.